And so I think a lot of us and a lot of our friends that we had went down that route of do startup 2, do startup 3, grow it, sell it. And that was kind of what was getting pushed by a lot of people, I think, and that was like the trendy thing to do. Okay, Alex, so this week we get to talk about something that I probably enjoy a ton.
I feel like all of these are like, these
like
are
how,
topics that I enjoy.
I feel like if we went
when can I talk about what I like?
I feel like if we went back to every episode, like 80% start with, hey, we get to talk about something I enjoy.
Yeah.
That's how
That's a story of my life.
I know. But no, we had on a few months ago, we had on JW, who was our broker when we sold our practices. Mm-hmm. And we kind of talked about, do you do the whole like one mega practice versus have a ton of offices, like what makes sense if you're trying to sell.
Yep.
And then that kind of led us down a rabbit hole of like a ton of other topics we could talk about in regards to like selling your practice. So for us, when we sold ours back in 2023, we knew like a year or so before that that's what we wanted to do, right? We were going to sell it. So we tried to do some prepping beforehand and figured out how to like maximize its value, but like some of it was like halfway through the process already. So like if we could go back, there's probably some things we would have done or would have wanted to know, if we did this, would this have led to more money, or was this just a waste of money to do, right? Because it didn't increase the value of the practice. Mm-hmm. So we figured bringing JW on, we could kind of go through some of those different scenarios. So like anyone who's like, hey, I'm considering selling a practice at any point in the future, these are kind of the different levers or knobs or things that like make sense to actually invest in versus not.
Yep.
Yeah. So JW, let's get into it then.
That's awesome. I want to hear what Alex has to say first.
I have nothing to say. Just here for the ride. No, I think there's some big things that people think, okay, I need to do this sort of thing, or I need to upgrade this and spend all of this money to make it either look nice or look presentable or whatever it is to sell my practice. And I don't think that's usually, it might not be the case. Maybe it's not the best use of your money, maybe investing in something else or whatever.
So it seems like you're going to like cosmetic. So that's probably a good one to start at. So like if you're going to sell JW and you say like, oh, I need like a fresh coat of paint, right? Or anything that's more cosmetic like that. Can you tell us if that actually like moves the needle at all? Like when you want to do that, when you don't want to do that?
It certainly doesn't hurt things, right? Like if you think about selling a house, most people get it painted. Most people have terrible carpet and maybe they get it replaced. Or maybe they have the hardwood refinished, right? Like when you think about the grand scheme of things of how much do those things cost, it's actually very little comparatively speaking to like what the value of your practice could be. But it makes the sellability, the appetite. If you think about bringing in an associate dentist that's working at some other practice, and then they see, oh, wow, this is fresh paint. I'm not going to have to do the floors. I'm not going to have to do this. Everything looks good enough for me to like come in, makes it a little bit more welcoming, which if you think about it from a patient perspective, right? Like maybe you should be doing that kind of stuff every other year or every few years anyways, just to make it welcoming for the patient. It's the same thing for the buyers, right? Like if they know that they're not going to have to make any capital expenditures to spend $30,000 to have the office painted, that's helpful. It makes the transition easier if that all makes sense.
But does that then, like, if let's say you were selling to a private dentist, right? And it's based on, I don't know tell me if I'm wrong, but like maybe 70 to 80% of last year's collections. Is that like a very wide ballpark of maybe what you're seeing?
I'd probably say it's 70 to 100.
Okay, cool. So
yeah.
Regardless, right? It's just the numbers it's based on collections. So if I painted my walls new,
so wait, hold on to interrupt. It's all the math behind the scenes runs out to land at somewhere in the 70 to 100% of collections. There is still the math and the profitability that makes it more appetizing. Lenders have learned about profitability, that there is the need for profitability within the practice that it's not. Now, this could be, well, the practice will land at 75% of collections if it's a terrible profit, or it may land to 100% of collections if it has great profit. So it does help move the needle on the range of where it's going to land. And the more appetizing the practice is, the more buyers you're going to potentially have. And a lot of this really depends on where your practice is located and what type of practice you have, and whether an associate or even a DSO wants to buy it. But you may have more buyers or more at bats or more offers to create that competitive marketplace to help drive up value.
Okay, cool. I did not realize that. So that, yeah, you're answering the question I was getting at, is like, why does it matter then? And yeah, okay, cool. So there are actually factors. We base it on that number. So I guess, all right, one more question related to that, and then I'll swing back to where we're supposed to be headed, but I'm already going off on left field here. Why, with private sales, to when I mean like selling to another dentist, why do they use that metric when like every other business, it seems like, tends to go on profit, right? Like, or most other businesses might go more of, all right, they're doing $200,000 in profit. Let's give them a multiple of that, kind of how like the DSOs work, and that's how we'll pay it, versus, like you said, a number or a metric that really isn't very accurate on the health of the practice. Like, why do we do it that way?
So I think my hypothesis of how it landed that way was banks, lenders had certain metrics that they couldn't go over 70% of collections or 90% of collections or 100% of collections. So I think the metrics kind of got reverse engineered to how the amount of capital was available. When you peel back the math to figure out what the profitability is on a $800,000 practice, if you do a 3x and you land at, let's for easier numbers' sake, let's do a $900,000 practice. When you reverse do the math, right? Can you have $300,000 of profitability in a $900,000 practice? Yes. Now, is that $300,000 necessarily a true EBITDA? No, because you have what the doctor is producing versus what is profit. So, you know, the EBITDA on a $900,000 practice is probably next to nothing, right? You're looking at somewhere in the $50,000 to $100,000 range. But that $50,000 to $100,000 range will be able to pay for the loan, the overhead, the additional loan to help pay for that practice, right? So on a $900,000 practice, you know, your loan payments are going to be somewhere in the $80,000 to $90,000 a year range. So if you're paying $80,000 to $90,000 a year in loans, then and you had $300,000 in profit coming to you, or in seller discretionary income or owner income coming to you, then you're still going to be making $200,000 a year and paying off that loan, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So it still is cash flow. It is what is the excess earnings, but it's just you're looking at it from a different multiple side of things. And on that particular practice, right? Like there's $100,000 in EBITDA. That's like a 9x. So theoretically, an associate doctor is actually paying more than what a DSO might buy.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense then. Okay. So now I'll get us back on where we were going, right? So is there almost like a quick, almost like rule on if I'm going to sell, right? We talked a little bit about cosmetic stuff, but like if I'm going to sell and should I put money into this, right? What's like, is there like a hard and fast rule where you're like, decision, you know, paint walls, do an operatory, buy a CBCT, whatever that is, what's the filter that you should have before making that decision?
The filter is, can it provide immediate income following that? Immediate revenue that can go all the way to the bottom line. It can be, does it increase the saleability or the analysis. So like when you think about bookkeeping or good payroll or really just good books, right? You definitely want to invest in that if you have crappy books. If your accountant just does annual tax returns, then you need to work on somebody that's going to be doing something monthly for you so that we don't have to wait and scurry to get this done every Q1 or Q2 when your books are finally ready. But I think a lot of it goes to what will be the impact to the bottom line that follows, or does it disrupt your business, right? So like somebody mentioned, hey John, we're thinking about selling, and we've been shopping practice management softwares. Which one do you choose? And my immediate answer was none. do not change. Because number one, whomever is buying you is going to have some other software that they want, and they may want to do that software change at that point in time. Number two, when I look at it from an analytical standpoint, and I got to pull data, then I got to pull data from this old practice management software and this new practice management software, and the new practice management software is ever changing. So that's an absolute no. If you're going to sell in the next 6 to 12 months, do not change your practice management software. Sorry, everybody that sells practice management software that is out there.
Yeah, because I think too, it's kind of like if you're going to make decisions on do I buy the CBCT, do I change the practice software, it should be for you. Like you still have to be in that practice for a year or however long it is. It better help you out and not just the seller. Like not just I'm going to buy the CBCT. I don't do implants. I don't do anything with airway or whatever, but maybe the next guy will like that, or it helps with the sale, but that really doesn't help you increase any kind of production or anything like that. That's probably a bad decision.
I always say maintain business as usual. Do like you would normally do, unless it's something major. If you're adding another treatment room, do you need it right away?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're adding another treatment room and you have the capacity to use it, right? Like, I don't think
Exactly.
if you had another room, you were just like, let me just equip this so the new person's gonna like have a room ready for them. It's like, don't do that. If you're not gonna use it, don't do it. Let them be the one that.
And I think that's kind of like the situation we were in was we outgrew, at least at my practice, we needed more space. The opportunity came up, and this was kind of before, but we knew we needed to expand, and we also knew that we wanted to sell to a DSO, and they weren't going to take a look at an office that only had 5 ops. So ours was kind of like we were a little bit trying to please, I guess, our seller, but at the same time, we wouldn't have done that if it was just for like a private practice.
Like, do you think looking back at it, JW, would it have mattered? So like in our situation, it was at one of the offices, it was like what 12 to 1,300 square feet and like 5 ops, so it was like tight as hell, right? Like no doctor room like to do anything, right? Like her computer was just like literally on the side of the wall. The lab and sterilization was all on the side of a wall, right? And so an opportunity came up to like double the size. So we took it, right? And we built things out, and we did equip 2 more of the 3 rooms that were in that expansion, but we didn't end up really using them. We didn't end up using both, right? One of them we used, the other one we didn't. So and we did sell to a DSO. They probably wouldn't have cared if we had equipped that or not, right? Like we probably could have kept that one empty if it wasn't being used.
As long as that there is real estate to be able to grow into, that is the appetizing part for most groups. Whether you had 6 or 5, I don't think that would have necessarily been a deal breaker. So long as that we knew that now, if you had to go and acquire that space, or you had to sign up a lease for that space, then that's absolutely helpful. Or maybe you could have had a right of first refusal on the landlord or something of like, we have this space to grow into at some point in time. Like all of that conceptual is helpful, because when you think about what groups want to do with your practice once they buy you, is they're not in it for you to just status quo and stay even. They want to grow eventually or make it multi-specialty. So there does need to have the growth ability. But also in your case, you only built out one treatment room. It's not like you built out 4 or 5 other treatment rooms. So spending the $50,000 to build out one treatment room probably was just helpful for you from a internal working standpoint and an operational standpoint for the time being. But did you absolutely have to drop that $50K to get it done? Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, so then walk through this scenario with me too, because I know it got explained and I totally forgot the logic behind it. Is when we were going to sell, right? We had done our expansion, like I think it was a little bit 12 months, it was maybe like 14 or 15 months prior to when we actually closed or sold. And we were always going back to the DSO and saying, hey, look, we built all this stuff for you. Like, you guys can grow. Like, give us some of this, money back, right? Like, we put, $300,000 or whatever it was in this expansion. Can you guys, like, can we get 100,000 of that back because we did it pretty recently? And I know the response was no, right? We can't. Can you go through why they couldn't do that again?
Yeah, so a lot of it really depends on ability to cash flow or to fill those seats, or have you done it yet, right? So if you did it 14 months before closing, we should have seen some sort of impact and value from the numbers perspective of seeing more patients, seeing increased revenue trajectory, et cetera. Sometimes if it's done a lot closer to closing, then maybe there's some sort of at 12 or 15 month or 18 month anniversary, there's some sort of look back period of, hey, we know that you were bursting at the seams at 5 treatment rooms. We understand that that was preventative of what you could potentially grow into in the future. And so maybe they'll do some sort of TTM look back on that amount of growth. And maybe it's not necessarily the full multiple of any type of increased EBITDA, but maybe it's like say you sold for 7x, maybe it's like 5x EBITDA on the growth that happened in month 12 of that deal anniversary. But so I think you may have been a little bit too far ahead.
I got it. They would have said, hey, you've already done this. This should be represented in what your numbers are, right? Because you had enough time to have that to show you can do it versus...
some sort of month over month increase of utilization in that particular treatment room. So if you are ramping up that far in advance, I might also invest in marketing campaigns, right? To make sure that you are filling the schedule, whether it's internal engagement campaigns or external marketing campaigns, to really ramp up that seat or those 2 seats so that you do show that upward trend to be able to capitalize on it.
Okay. Yeah. And again, I still think that's, based on, you still have to make that decision based on your numbers, how you can grow it and have it reflect well for you, not for someone else. So it's not like I built this, you figure out how to bring the patients in, do all of this stuff. I'm not doing that. And it's like, well, like, to me, that's a missed opportunity. Like, if you're ready to grow into that spot, like, do your marketing campaigns, figure out how to fill the seats, add treatment, do all that stuff.
Like I talked to a guy last week, does $4 million out of 6 treatment rooms, bought the building, has a ton of space that he can grow into, knows that he doesn't want to own for that much longer. And he's like, John, do I invest in this build out? And I told him, like, well, maybe only invest in a part of the build out to relieve your 6 treatment rooms. But at the same time, the $300,000 or $400,000 that he's going to spend to get it done, because the timing could line up of maybe we're transacting when that is opening, then maybe we'll be able to get that 12 to 18 month look back period on that potential future growth, because he is kind of capped at 4 million in 6 treatment rooms unless he starts expanding hours, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. So then saying, like, so let's use like a CBCT example, because I think a lot of people would be like, equipment, right? Like, should I get something new if I know I'm going to sell in the near future? Kind of going through your lens of it, it's like, so if you're going to buy a piece of equipment and you're going to buy something like a CBCT, and that allows you to do more implants, to diagnose more, to do more types of treatment, right? That's probably going to increase your revenue in your office because you can offer more stuff. So if you're going to drop 70, 80K, whatever CBCTs are right now, that probably makes sense if you did an analysis and was like, well, now I'll be able to place implants. Now I'll be able to do this. Now I'll be able to do that. And in the next year, I anticipate I'll be able to do $100,000 more, right? Then it's a positive versus, I don't know, Alex, what equipment do you think of where you're like, if you bought it, it's just more for you for like niceness, but it's actually not gonna like help.
Well, like 3D printing, or
like a
anything
massaging
3D
dental
stuff.
chair, right?
A massaging dental chair, perfect. That is a good one too. But yeah,
Fine.
I mean, I guess 3D printing,
No,
you can
wait,
make an
hold on.
argument like
Alex,
if you could keep
what
things
if-
in house, but yeah, that might be a tougher one because it helps more with efficiency than really like driving production.
Yeah, and I would think too, like, to me, if someone was like, oh, I have a 3D printing office and stuff, it's like, oh crap, I don't know anything about 3D
Yeah.
printing. It kind of niches you a little bit, potentially, unless you have, a younger dentist who's like, yeah, I want to learn all of this stuff, then it's a plus. So I think I don't know, that would be a hard one, I would think.
But I think massage chair would be a perfect example too, right? Something that like, yeah, it's nice for the patient and helps them, but I think it'd be pretty hard to quantify that like this massaging dental
It just
chair
seems like a
increased-
bad decision at any point
Yeah.
if you're selling or not. Like, that's just
Yeah,
dumb.
I don't think they work that well, and they're like really expensive.
If
And
they're getting massage and you're supposed to like stay still.
yeah, I don't know how that works in there. I don't know how
Or, like,
people would keep
bumping
that on.
around.
But I don't think my point is like I don't think you could go to it and be like, oh yeah, this massage chair I can directly point to like my case acceptance going like my case acceptance not 4 is awesome.
Like
It sucks not 3,
how
right?
hard do you have to go in on marketing that in your like advertisements? Like, I have a dental massage chair, come to me, and that's really
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah.
No, so you're right. It does have to. You have to do the math of how is this going to help either see more patients, have more treatment plan acceptance, get more revenue to the bottom line, and is that going to pay off? Because a $70,000 piece of equipment, if you can add $100,000 to the revenue, and 50% of that drives to the bottom line, $50,000 times 6 is $300,000. So that $70,000 piece of machinery just paid for itself and then some.
Yep.
So
That's a good way to
do
look at
have
it.
to do the math, and a lot of it comes down to like there's different stages of the life of a patient, right? Like, so are you investing in on the front end in marketing, or are you investing in revenue cycle management, or are you investing in treatment plan acceptance, or are you what different life of the cycle are you investing in? And if you invest in every stage of that life of a patient and can increase percentages or increase different percentages along the way, then that should add all the way to the bottom line.
Yeah. So like, Alex, what about like doing, like you were saying with like revenue cycle management. So like getting the money, right, that you've worked on, right, or that you're owed, right? So like if you would probably recommend, if you didn't have a good system for collecting or on your AR, right, like obviously that's going to affect how much, it's not going to affect how much you produce, but how much you collect at the bottom, right? And
Yeah.
so would you say like, if those systems aren't in line, make sure to get those intact, right? Like
Oh my
hire a
gosh,
company,
yeah.
right, that can do it. There's a ton out there now that do it, right? Like if there's some low-hanging fruit, it might make sense to say, I'm going to spend $300 on this service and they're going to clean up a lot of my accounts receivable, or they're going to help patients collect at time of service, whatever it is that helps.
I think all of that, it's like make your office super efficient, like just for you. Like you should be, investing in whatever software to like pull your numbers, track your KPIs, know where you're at. Yeah, or else you're just like riding blind, and you're like, I don't know what this is. And how are you supposed to sell something for the most value if you don't know what your numbers
Oh,
are?
and I'm sure JW or any broker probably really appreciates it too when people actually know what their numbers are, and actually have their books in line. I would imagine that's probably one of the fun gaps of being a broker is playing detective.
It is forensic accounting at times, right? Like, and a lot of doctors don't understand why we need more than just tax returns to do an analysis. When the tax return is, that item that is presented to the IRS, there's a lot behind just what's in the tax return. So we like to look at a profit and loss statement or profit and loss detail or general ledger. So we can look at every single transaction. And maybe we look at every single transaction 3 times each over the phone with my analyst, like maybe Dr. Appleseed did.
Yeah. That was fun. I enjoyed doing that. Okay, so here,
Not,
this is where my
not
head
many
goes.
people enjoy
So-
that, but I know that you enjoy that line item, every line item.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I can go
Who
through
did?
that forever. Yeah, I know. Alex actually did a lot of that for me, but I can take
really?
the credit. I'm really good
Oh,
at
you
taking
took credit
for
for it?
things that I didn't do. I love
Who do
doing
you
that.
think is
That's
the
fun.
more detail-oriented one out of all of us?
Okay, so on that line of thinking,
Okay.
When it got to the add back of personal toothbrushes, I had to credit that to Eric.
oh yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, how can we get this back?
Yeah.
Like, oh, Eric.
Yeah. Hey, every dollar saved. That's it, yeah.
All right, where's your head
okay.
going?
Have you ever and if it breaks any type of like, well, I guess you're not going to say client names, right? So it doesn't really break any confidentiality here, I don't think. Do you remember any interesting, funny line items that you had to look at and you're like, hey, Dr. So-and-so, what is this?
Oh man. None that come to the top of my head. I apologize. I'm sure that I have a list.
No, like, there's no
Like
like,
a
there's no like,
subscription to something random?
yeah, there's no like adult
or-
bookstore things or any like
No.
inappropriate stuff.
No, none of that. Lots of there's been some boat payments like that get run through. Golf
Not a
courses.
subscription to like, what was that? Like Ashley Madison, that one that was like the group that people would go to if they wanted to cheat on their spouses.
Yeah.
There was that one. Yeah, no, nothing crazy like that.
No, actually, those
Oh wow,
guys
That's
must.
good.
Dennis,
Those
we
guys
are,
must
we are
have some other
upstanding
credit card.
individuals in the dental field.
We're just finding other ways to hide it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're just good at that. Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of talked about equipment and like upgrades and stuff like that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about bottom line and cutting expenses and stuff like that. What about staff? I know
Oh, yeah,
Eric and I always go a little bit back and forth
Like,
a little
are
bit
we
on.
good with we can fire everyone? Do you JW recommends just fire everyone, right? Like,
No, they're
No.
gonna catch you. But it is like if you do have, I hate to say, if you have dead weight, right? Like you just feel bad that you haven't fired this person and they are absolutely terrible, and either they're super negative or just for whatever purpose, and they're not helping your practice, and you would not replace them if you fired them. Then yes, probably, because more than likely they're going to get fired anyways. And if that person's making $50,000 a year, you might be able to add, 6, 7, 8x times that. So dead weight, I would say probably.
Yeah. Because I know with our practices, like someone would quit, like an assistant would quit. And now you're down to like 2 assistants or 2.5 assistants or something like that. And it's like, stay lean. Try to do that for as long as possible without having to like hire someone new. Because to me, it helps the numbers. And if you can get through it, do it.
well, yeah, but then it proves too, right? Like, I think when you went through it and you're like, hey, if I've been able to do that for like a year, you've proven that you can run the practice at those numbers with that.
Yeah,
with
but
that
like
team.
stress related, yeah, everyone's like stressed out though, probably.
True,
Like,
but
there's a lot more work.
buyers are savvy, and they're getting so savvy that it's annoying.
All right, explain.
Because everybody these days is asking for us for employee rosters and like history and all the employee payroll reports, and they want to know every detail about everybody that's been terminated. And so it's really annoying for us because we're not really used to asking like, why did you fire all these people on the front end? But they know how many dental assistants it takes to be able to have a successful dental practice and to run a certain amount of columns, etc. So if you are running thin, they may even just ding you for the EBITDA anyways because they know that they're going to need a dental assistant, or they know that, and you only have one hygienist and you're doing 1.5 million. Like, why don't you have 2 or 3? So you may actually be working really hard to save that money when you're going to get dinged for it, or there's going to be some sort of pro forma adjustment to bring in that person on like month 2.
Yeah, but isn't the counter argument then opportunity, right? You could bring in another hygienist, and look, they should always pay for themselves and more. So like, why are you dinging me? You can come in and look there. You can bring in another hygienist, and now you're going to do more, right? Like I feel like everything gets twisted.
I guess hygienist is probably a bad example, right? Like I think the only
you're
one
saying
that really
someone
makes
that
sense
doesn't
is
increase your production.
Dental assistants, right? Like they know what that landscape needs to look like. Now maybe there's some front desk or admin type people that maybe there's some trimming the fat that may happen. But I mean, we have there are some groups that are out there that you may have like a lead front desk and a lead dental assistant and a lead hygienist and no office manager. So some groups will say, well, you got to have a manager in there. So I appreciate that all these people are leads, but we're gonna adjust $70,000 or $80,000 on your EBITDA anyways. So a lot of that type of stuff happens, and it's hard to know. I mean, we know the majority of the ones who do that, and they do still win deals. You know, sometimes they have to increase their multiple to be able to get competitive with somebody that doesn't do that. But a lot of that stuff does happen.
If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod.
I want to do something interesting. Maybe we can do a speed round to kind of like wrap it up back to what you should look for when you're selling your practice. And let's just kind of go off of P&L and go off like category by category, what you should, if you need to change anything or not.
All right, cool. I like games.
It's not a game. And I don't have a P&L in front of me, so I'd have to do this by memory. But
okay.
Do you want me to pull up a P&L?
Sure, let's pull up a P. Yeah.
Let's do it.
I mean, I'm not going to share the P&L, but at least I can.
No, you don't have to share. No, I just need the categories.
All right.
All right, so what are we doing?
We'll just see if we'll just say the category really fast, and if it's like, okay, do you focus on like anything with this?
Okay, yeah, let's go through some. All right,
salaries.
Start us. What was it? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Salaries.
Okay, so like wages and stuff. Okay, I say you don't change anyone's. Don't change anyone's. If someone asks for a raise, don't give it to them.
Yeah, I wouldn't give a raise for anything on it, right? I mean, unless they were like a super important member and you knew team member and they were going to like leave, true. Like they were going to leave if you didn't do it.
Yeah.
I probably would. But I'm a
I
coward.
I think that's probably right. But like cleaning up stuff, do bonuses end up in there? Probably.
I don't think you change status quo though. I wouldn't if I had a bonus, I wouldn't get rid of a bonus. But if I didn't have a bonus, I don't know if I would do one.
Don't implement one.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't really change much with that. And doctor salary is in there, right?
Yeah, don't pay your. I mean, yeah, just pay yourself what you've been paying yourself.
Yeah, but this is the point where it's like if you haven't really been paying yourself, start paying yourself like an associate, right?
Yeah, I mean they'll square that up though later. Like even it doesn't matter. I don't think that matters. That's what we did, right? Like
your representation should be able to make those types of adjustments.
Yeah,
and that's a key. That's a plug there.
There we go. Okay, next line.
Wait, hold on. I would say keep usual and customary raises. Don't do anything that's going to disrupt your team, right?
Okay.
Disrupting the team could disrupt everything within your practice, create a tumultuous environment, and lower revenue, and that's never good. So keep everything somewhat status quo. If you have dead weight that you can just absolutely you've been waiting to fire them.
Okay.
And HR is going to, luckily I don't have an HR, contact your CPAs and
do it all
your
correctly
mentors before you fire anybody for evaluation purposes.
Yeah.
Next one.
Supplies.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean that one I would just.
You can go pretty hard on getting
Yeah, I
that
think
reduced.
most dentists are so used to, but like that's my thing. Like I love that piece of it is like I think that's one that's pretty low hanging fruit. That's
Yeah.
easy. Whether you switch to, a less expensive vendor, right? Like some of the middle tier ones, or you start just getting generics for things that are like disposables, right? Even if you wanted to dip your toe in that, I think I would do an analysis of like what I'm spending on. And if I was buying like super nice name brand sterilization pouches, I'd probably just go buy the Henry Schein
Yeah.
brand or like the Crazy Dental brand, whatever theirs is. And I think that's an easy way to just cut costs. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would do that.
And keeping a budget. If you're not keeping a
Yeah.
budget now, start implementing a budget to
Yeah.
to make sure you're not like overspending.
Okay.
Cool. All right, next.
Lab fees.
Labs.
Same. I would probably say pretty
Yeah.
similar. I think I would same thing. I would see I would do an analysis on it. I'd say, what am I spending for like my zirconia crown, my Emax crown, for all that kind of stuff? And then I'd probably shop it around and say, if I haven't looked at this in 3 years, holy crap, am I paying like $200 for a zirconia crown? And like, there's a lot of labs that do it for like $70 now or $60. Okay, maybe I should maybe I'll test this new lab
Yeah,
out. And
yeah.
if it's good, that's going to save a ton of money. I think that's one thing that people don't track that often because you just get comfortable with your lab. But if it's cosmetics, I get it. Spend the money, use your cosmetic guy you like. But if it's like everyday crown on number 30, number 14, something like that, I think it's more okay with analyzing that and possibly making a change.
Yep.
Payroll tax expense.
Can you do anything with that?
You have to make certain adjustments to payroll tax expense. Going back to the doctor owner compensation, right? Like if you're making internal adjustments, there could be a negative adjustment that you make on the payroll tax expense if you're letting everything flow to the bottom line. You're not paying yourself a salary. So this is where it's super important to have good representation that can do that analysis.
That's where you need JW. Yeah. Another
Same with
shameless plug too.
401k or company matches, etc. Keep all that status quo, but you should be able to have the documentation to show what's for your team and what's for you, so that we can figure out where the profitability lies and what it looks like on a move forward basis.
Okay.
Yep.
Payroll service, don't change. Well, I guess it depends on how far out, right? And that's one of those, like changing your practice management software or changing your accounting software. Like if you're going to sell in the next 3 to 6 months, don't change it, because then it creates different disruptions from a tracking and analysis or things like that. If you're 14 to 36 months plus away and you feel like you're paying an egregious amount in payroll, then I would say it's okay to take a look at.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we just use, like at our offices, Gusto is super popular, right? Just because I feel like they cater to small businesses and it was pretty like clean and easy to use and they weren't that expensive. So, that's who we always just ended up using. But I know I don't know or not, but I feel like some of the bigger players are like a lot more expensive sometimes because maybe you don't need an enterprise solution for just a small business. So, okay, I agree with that one.
They I guess to go down a little bit of rabbit hole, this isn't a quick hit, but your payroll company could be providing HR services, etc., that maybe you as a smaller shop may not necessarily need.
Yeah.
So you could look at that of, is there anything discretionary on those payroll service charges?
All right, cool.
Advertising.
Yeah. Marketing.
If
that's a tough one.
if you're analyzing, if you're able to analyze, and like maybe you've just been, man, it's hard to just cut the SEO or cut the Facebook, whatever. If you know where all of your new patients are, and if you know that you can trim some fat and still get the number of new patients that you get on a monthly basis, and this is where it's good to test out a little bit, right? Like maybe you do something 1 month and see what happens to new patients over the course of the next 3 to 4 months after that. If new patients drop, then maybe you add that back, right? And put that service back in, or tweak your marketing or advertising services depending on what happens afterwards. But that does take a lot of time to be able to analyze that, whether you should be going up or down from a marketing and advertising perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, right? Like if you have the room to grow, I don't know, every dental marketer, I just saw some ad that it's like 15x ROI, right? Which is so funny. I mean, like, first off, any listeners, like if people tell you something that sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But you would think conceptually, if you have the room to grow, your marketing dollars should be positive in the sense that like if you spend $1,000 in marketing, you should get more than $1,000 back in return, right? So my thought would be like spend more in marketing because it's going to help drive your growth, which is going to be important when you want to sell. So that would be my thought.
Yeah. I'd probably lean more into that, like go a little bit harder, but probably not like upheaval your whole marketing thing and try something completely new because it could tank and it could be like, oh crap, I did something
that goes
wrong.
back to like status quo. It's like don't like throw, you're spending $5,000 a month in marketing, don't bump it up to $30,000 and only market now that you're doing like some new procedure you just did if you don't know if like your area needs that.
Don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb. All right, what's the next one?
This is the next biggest one.
Okay.
Rent.
My understanding from that is like you can do like fuck all on that. So like all that happens is you end up getting charged more.
It's that is tough. You really need like a local real estate person to help know the market of like what have transactions at, what are new leases at today versus what I am currently paying, because you're right. We've seen, we had a deal where it was like a 15% increase by the new landlord, which hurt considerably, right? Or if you own your space, you want to know what type of rent is going to be the most advantageous to eventually sell this real estate down the road. So you should do a little bit of research, and we can help facilitate a lot of that by putting you in touch with either the right people or doing our own internal analysis. But with rent, that it's one of the top expenses for most practices. So it's definitely worth taking a look at and doing some research.
I think, and this is probably for a different talk, but if someone was a year up on their lease and it's like, oh, this is going to be high, do I look at moving? Do I look at
that should be a whole that'll extend this conversation like 3 hours.
That'd be my only other thought with that is like look at the time frame on your lease, I guess, and then decide with someone that's smarter than me.
And if you're month to month and your landlord for like a long time and your landlord is MIA or it's in a family trust or owned by the mafia, etc. Try to get into a lease. Try to get into a lease and stop going month to month. It is very, we have seen issues of like being able to contact the landlord because people have just had it on auto pay month after month after month and have never had to call their landlord for anything. And it gets to be a very tricky situation.
Oh, even with some of the bigger ones, like ours was part of, our landlord at one of the offices is part of a fund, like a big fund. Yeah. And they are a pain in the ass to get a hold of. You have to like, there's so much red tape in between. So yeah, that is a challenge. All right, sorry.
All right, last one.
That's probably a whole nother podcast, and we can probably get you some people on for that.
All right, let's do one more line item.
Uh-oh. I was putting it away. I know you had a hard stop.
We could end there.
We were done. There's no more line items. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I don't think that there's many that are impactful. I'll just blast them off, see if you have anything. Computer and IT, accounting, travel and lodging, credit card fees, office. Credit card fees, there's lots of ways to, and this is probably a whole other topic, lots of ways to push the fee to the patient, which I realize that there's controversy there.
I don't have an issue with it.
No.
Surcharging, I mean, we've been doing that at our office for like over a year
makes sense.
now.
So for like PPO practices, it makes sense, right? Like if you can only get a certain amount of insurance reimbursement from the insurance company, well, you like adding the credit card fee into that is tough, right? Like,
yeah.
So you could definitely, yeah.
No, I don't have an issue with it for a couple of reasons. One, and I'm pretty cheap, so it would probably piss me off a lot. But if I have an option, right? I don't know. I think most people carry a credit card and they have a debit card, right? And so if I knew that you want to pay with a credit card, I know most people know there's a fee associated with it. I have to pay that fee. Or if I don't want to pay the fee, I have an option for you. Here's your debit card. Use that. I think for me, I'd be like, okay, I'll make a decision. And then because I'm cheap, I'd probably say like, okay, well, I'm washing out on this credit card because I'm not getting my points on this. So I'll just use my debit card. What?
You probably do the quick math of how many Amex points can I get
Yeah.
out of this transaction, and will that help
Yeah.
me hit my status?
Yeah, exactly.
you
So
go.
yeah, for me, I don't think it would be that big of a barrier, and that's coming from someone who overly thinks about that stuff. If I knew there was an option to still pay with a card and not cash, because no one carries that anymore, and still not get charged, I'd be like, I don't like this, but it's not going to prevent me from like seeing The Office, right? So
I think it's good. I think it's a good line item.
Easy
Yeah.
one you can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Cool.
We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of 1 new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
What are you seeing people interested in? Like what type of practice? Are you hearing people saying we want to, I guess maybe from like the private dentist more than like a DSO, right? But like, they're saying I want to be in a city, or I want to be, in a blue state or a red state, right? Or I want an office that's already taking insurance. Are there certain trends or things that you're seeing people asking for in a practice that they want to buy?
Yeah, geography is always important, and it's always going to be a struggle for the rural practice to sell to an individual. Most younger dentists want to be close to some sort of major or mid-size metro city. That's number one. I thought this is always interesting when I have a full fee-for-service practice, because I would think that a buying dentist would hop on that, but many times they're scared. Because
I would not do it. Yeah, no. So I think so that.
Yes,
so I think
Eric
that's
would
it.
not.
Yeah. So I think it's the mindset of the dentist, right?
Yeah.
That wants to buy it. I think maybe because I lead more out of fear on stuff is
Yeah.
I would say, whoa. So now there's a practice that's been established probably somewhere for a while, right? If they're fee for service, it's been around there 20 years. I'm afraid there's going to be way more attrition. More patients are going to leave. Maybe if I don't do all the same procedures, which I don't do a lot of procedures as that dentist, oh man, that's going to kill the numbers. And pretty much the only reason they're going there is for that dentist. There isn't an insurance that's but nudging them to that practice, right? Like, and so like to me that's scarier, and that's probably more of like a confidence thing from the dentist versus I think if you had a dentist that was like, dude, what can I do? I'm doing all on fours. I'm doing this. I can crush it. I want to do this. They might see a fee for service and be like, hell yeah. So I wonder if that plays into it.
No, I think it's all confidence these days. At least in that perspective, even just getting into practice ownership, right? Like dentists need to have a lot of confidence. There's a lot of nuances to running a practice, right? There's a lot of work that they don't teach you to do anything, right? In dental school. If you talk revenue cycle management to an associate dentist, they're gonna be like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
And so they've never gone through the credentialing process themselves. So like that gets tricky. So there's so much to running a dental practice. So there's a lot of fear. And so I could totally see now why a doctor would be scared of that, but it does take that right doctor that is brave enough to hop in. And you're exactly right. They want to be able to do the right procedures, or maybe even more of the procedures, or maybe there's a longer period of stay time that doctor needs to stay on for 6 to 12 months to make sure that there's a larger transition period, as opposed to the PPO shops where it's, a lot of them, they may not care a lot of patients may not care what dentist they actually come to see, so long as that their insurance is covered by them. So.
Yeah, I wonder and I would probably focus on this. I don't have a confidence issue for the most part. Like between us. But I would think that the match between like who that fee for service dentist is, like if it was like let's go into genders here. Okay,
Yeah,
so like,
I mean, if
like
Alex is trying to buy one from like an old white dude, right? Like,
yeah, or
it might be
someone
tougher.
who's
There-
like
there is a lot of
whatever his
matchmaking that comes into this.
whatever his
Yeah.
persona is, and it's like, oh geez, I don't act like that. I'm a female. I do this. That might be just
Well, that was
awkward.
even-
Like
that
I
was
can
e-
still walk in confident and be like, I can absolutely do these procedures, and talk chit chat with the patients and have good rapport. But I would be like, oh man, that would be like not like hard shoes to fill, but it just might not be the right practice to go into.
So think about it, right? Like the first practice that I was about to say we bought, but Alex bought it. See, I did a good job of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was in California, right? Like the dentist was an old white dude, right? And a lot of his practice wasn't big. It was a small practice, but he'd been in the community forever. He still took insurances, but a lot of it was like his racquetball buddies, right? His gym buddy. Like that's how his patient base was. And so you've got this person who grew up in this community, who's been a practicing dentist there for 30 years. And then you have like the opposite avatar coming in to like take over that practice. You got to call it what it is.
Yeah,
it is a
it's
challenge,
hard.
right? For people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell, like my grandma, like I know there are certain generations where like, and I don't agree with it. I think it's wrong, but they will still say, I want a male dentist, right? Like there's a generation that likes that. So if you had a patient base that was all very elderly and you were stereotyping how they tend to see their, or what their expectations of what a dentist or a doctor is, that's got to be factored into it in terms of fit.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so now let's go into political stuff because we just did this. So let's hit gender and let's hit politics. So are you seeing though, like, because you know how there's some, there's some states now that like there's advantages where they don't have state income tax, right? You see it in sports. There's some athletes that are like, let's go play for a Texas team, right? Versus like going and playing in Toronto where there's a ton of taxes, right? Are you ever seeing anything like that where some dentists are like, I want to go to a state where it's business friendly, right? Like that's where I want to be. Like, are you seeing more of the like, I want to go to Texas or I want to go to Florida? Or are you seeing people like, no, I'll stay in New York or California?
I haven't really analyzed it from a political standpoint, but I think that will kind of correlate to what I initially led with. It really depends on what city, right? Like there are different cities that different doctors will want to go towards. 9 times out of 10, it's because of family, not because of political environment.
Okay.
But also, if you're going back to your family, you probably share the same type of political views. So I wouldn't necessarily say now there are plenty of practices that will go to Florida or New Hampshire, be it to save on taxes, right? Like when you don't have state taxes, that's helpful. But that's just more of a population thing. I don't know if I necessarily see anybody going there to open a practice specifically because of that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Interesting. I don't know if you deal with this, but I think Eric and I have seen the landscape change a little bit as far as like more partnerships I feel are emerging, either between like owner dentists and their associates or just multiple dentists getting together. Do you ever come across dentists coming to you and say, that's what I want. I want a partnership. I want to buy into a partnership and not just own something outright.
Yeah, we get dentists. They're not necessarily coming to us to like help me find a partner. They're already like an associate in some sort of partnership, or they already they've been working for somebody that wants to bring them in as a partner. But you're right, there are a lot of multi-dentist, multi-specialty type larger practices that are out there that have a lot of partners. But so we don't get a ton of people that are like, hey, where can I go and buy into a partnership?
Okay. Because I think when we graduated, right, like 2013, I think that was starting to become like the peak or the rise of like the dental entrepreneur, right? Like that was like, it's such a buzzword now that everyone says, right? Everyone's a dental entrepreneur, right? And it was, either it was like a lot of the consultants we went to, or I don't know what caused it. If it was like DSOs were just starting to emerge. And so like there was this carrot of like, holy shit, we just saw some of these dentists at like 40 or 45 cash out for $10 million. How do I do that? Right? Like the money talked. And so I think a lot of us and a lot of our friends that we had went down that route of do startup 2, do startup 3, grow it, sell it. And that was kind of what was getting pushed by a lot of people, I think, and that was like the trendy thing to do. I was just wondering if you still see that type of trend with newer grads or younger doctors who are like, I want to do that, or if that's kind of getting like the gas isn't like getting like, it's not as much lead foot on that, right? And it's kind of going back, I guess, a little bit to like, let's establish like more of the like the law firm model, right? Where it's like big practice with like 5 or 6 partners. When I retire, this guy buys me out.
Yeah. I don't necessarily see it going towards the law firm model because partnerships do get complicated. And it's not as dental partnerships have not become as quite as streamlined as attorney partnerships. There are less dentists that are getting into, or less people going into dental school with the appetite of being an entrepreneur afterwards. I know plenty of insurance guys that go and do study clubs, right, at dental schools, and they said 10 years ago, when you ask them who wants to be a dental entrepreneur, 90% of the class would raise their hand, and now it's like 30%. That said, though, I do talk with a lot of the different startup bankers that are out there, and there are an influx of startups that have been growing over the past couple of years of doctors that are getting tired of the corporate side of things and going out to hang their own shingle and be an entrepreneur, and whether it's to eventually sell out for big dollars or just have a better quality of life or not have to necessarily answer to anybody. There has been a trend, and look, we saw it in the vet sector too, right? Like vet consolidated very quickly, and now there is a huge influx of veterinarians looking to do startups. So I think the cycle will continue, and it's just a different cycle, and people will have different choices to choose of what their end game will be. Like, do I grow this to $6 million and monetize, stay on for 5 years, then go do it again in another part of the country? Maybe. Like that creates different optionality, if that makes sense.
What are you seeing in terms of appetite in dentistry for people wanting to like buy or sell a practice? Like, are there more transactions happening? Is it slowing down? Or people kind of like holding on to their practice longer? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I feel like 2025 was a little bit of people had a lot of hope that a lot of transactions were going to happen this year because of the political environment that's out there. And also just a lot of pent up capital because interest rates were higher in 23 and 24. They have come down a little bit. I feel like that there's not a ton of noise that's happening today. So I think that there'll be a lot of pent up demand, and 2026 will be a lot of when a lot of brokers may flush out a pipeline. Because we've gotten a lot of tire kickers this year of just what's the value, when should I sell, etc. And when we tell them, they're excited, but I don't think that they're excited enough to say, okay, well, let's just go now. And so that they just kind of wait. So I do feel like with 26 or 25, somewhat, I think we're ending at stabilization, maybe from an economy standpoint. It's hard to say. Probably by the time this airs, we'll know.
Yeah.
But I feel like that there will be a lot of transactions that happen in 2026, just from a lot of groups have taken 24 and 25 to work on their organization. So they should be coming out looking to buy, looking to grow assets and do more acquisitions. And then I feel like that there are a lot of future sellers that will be coming to market. If you think about everybody that sold in 21 and 22 and 23, like those were huge transaction years. There were probably a lot of people that sold. Hard to say whether it's prematurely or not, but a lot of people transacted. So there needed to be a blip of a year, like 2025, to maybe reset to a normalized marketplace that was pre pre-capital, right? Pre-2021, pre-2020.
Yeah, when you're
So
saying
I feel-
that there was no interest rates on anything, every money was cheap, all that kind of stuff, that may have driven people to make decisions that maybe they would have waited on. And now you're almost seeing a little bit of that reverse where people are like maybe with you, do you feel like more people are kind of dipping their toes into it and they're like, hey, just teach me a little bit more about this. I think I want to do this, but versus like, you know how we did it in 2023 and transacted, and we were like, we're going to do it, go. And we were pretty like decisive on it, right? Like we had made the decision and we weren't going to change. More people are kind of wavering.
They're waiting to see, right? Like, are interest rates going to drop more? Are valuations going to increase? Are multiples going to increase? Things of that nature. So I do think that there's a lot of wait and see. But there are still plenty of buyers that are out there, right? Individual buyers, group buyers, like there are still plenty of buyers. They are at, I think, good multiples. I don't know if you could say they're 2022 multiples. I think I don't know that those will ever come back. But I do think that there are still good groups that are out there. I think there are good buyers that are out there. And so I think assets will be coming on the market next year.
Nice. Cool.
And move and sell.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure. We'll have to talk more and have you on more regularly just to go through all this stuff, because I'm sure we could go into like
When are you guys going to
50
open another
different
practice so I can sell you again?
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. See,
Just kidding.
25 was a rough year. JW needs his commissions. Cool.
All right, and then that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.